Hello, 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 everybody. This is Tamika Grooms here. I am. Oh, oh, wait a minute. I am on today. Hello, this is Tamika Grooms from Kids Lit ATL. I am on today because I want to talk a little bit more about. I'm sorry. Talk a little bit more about trim size, gutters, and full bleed in children's books. Um, I am a part of SCBWI. I am a volunteer as an illustrator coordinator for the Southern Breeze region. And we have an upcoming award for the Liz Conrad Award that's coming up. And part of the assignment for the applicants is to create an illustration for a story, and they have to do a double page spread. And so I wanted to come on because I know that there's been some questions about um, trim size, gutters, and full bleed, and creating the illustrations. So their assignment is to create a double page um, full open illustration for an 8 by 10 book. And so that means that for the 8 by 10 book, when it's open, it's going to be 10 by 16 for the size of the illustration. But if you take into account for the gutter as well as the um, outside, if you have, I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can. But if you have part of the image that goes outside into the bleed beyond the trim size, then your image is really going to be bigger than your 10 by 16 sheet of paper. So it'll actually end up being around 11 by 17. So let me see if I can explain this a little bit better. So what I did is I did a search on Google, and because Google knows everything, to find some visuals to explain trim size, full bleed, and gutters. And so I'm going to drop this link into the description below this YouTube video, but I just wanted to go through some of the images really quickly to talk about full bleed and trim size. So, say for instance, if we have our trim size, this image shows that we have a book with an image, and the trim size of the book is the standard 6 by 9 size. And so, what the printer does is they take this image, place it on the page, and they allow for extra space beyond that 6 by 9 trim size to be on the sheet that they print. And so, what they do is they print it on, they put the image on a sheet of paper that's maybe 9.25 by 6.25, and then they trim that down to a 6 by 9 sheet of paper, or I'm sorry, a 6 by 9 page that will go into the book. Of course, there's some binding that has to go on, and so there's some other things that they have to be that come into consideration. But if you look at the trim size of this 6 by 9 book, it's actually the image is actually printed on a sheet of paper that is bigger than that 6 by 9, so that if there's any parts of the image that goes off the side of that cut sheet of paper, that you won't lose any important visual information. So let's scroll down a little bit more, and so they give another illustration of where this trim size is. So this black line is the trim where the page is actually cut. The margins, if you had a regular um, manuscript or book that didn't have any imagery, it would go to this purple line, which is the margins. And so you wouldn't have to worry about any of the words or the imagery going off the page because it would be within this purple area. And so that would be your safe zone. And then there's that white space that goes around the margin, just like any other regular sheet of paper. So you have your margin, your trim size, and then the bleed. So the bleed goes outside of the trim size, and it gives the printer some safeguards to make sure that if anything is gets cut off, that all the important information is within that trim of the page. And sometimes your book may require that you don't use any type of bleed. So you may not have to go outside of that trim size. So there will be a white margin that goes around your imagery or your text. But if you decide that you want that imagery to go all the way to the edge of the trim, that means you have to provide extra coloring or extra information that is bigger than that trim size. So my 8 by 10 book, when it's opened up into its printed page, is actually going to be a bigger image. So let's keep going, and hopefully this will be a little bit more clear in a second. So here's another example of an image that goes across 2 pages. So the tricky thing with binding is that you actually have this gutter in the middle, right here in the center of the page. And that gutter, I believe, is usually around 0.125, but the specifications will be provided by your printer um, to give you some guidelines of how much space that you need to account for in the center of that page. So if I have this image that goes across 2 pages, and so when you open it up on a children's book illustration page, you have to have space in the center where there's not going to be any important information. So no characters sitting in the center of your page, no important information, no text, nothing that's going to be eaten up in the center of your book because it's going to be folded or stapled or sewn to the point where if that book is open, that you lose information. So you want to make sure that you have all your important information within the spaces. If you see right here, they're kind of pink. You want to make sure you get all your information within those margins, and most definitely within those trim lines, because anything that goes outside of that is going to get either cut off or eaten up by the gutter. So that's my hopefully quick explanation of trim size, gutters, and bleeds. And you want to make sure that you follow the specification given to you by your printer or your publisher or your art director or whomever, and make sure that you account for that, and you give extra space on your illustrations. Alrighty, so I hope that if you're within the Southern Breeze region and you're applying to the Liz Conrad Award, you follow the specifications that we've given you. I hope to see some wonderful artwork. And if you're not within our region, please do stay tuned to SCBWI as well as my channel on Kids Lit ATL TV, where we talk about children's books. I share some of my art. My name is Tamika Grooms. You can find more of my artwork at tamikatheartist.com. It's spelled TEMIKA, theartist.com. And if you want to learn more about Kidslit ATL, you can go to my website and there's a link for it there. Okay, so I hope to see you all somewhere on the internet, and take care, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.